for anyone who I guess hadn't seen, there was a I don't purported memo reported by CNBC. I haven't seen any comment from the at Ryan Cohen handle. Justin, I don't know if you have seen it directly from other employees, like exactly who it went to, but it was reported by CNBC initially on the back of him being named CEO this morning. This memo, Joe, did you pin it?
I'm going to pin it up in the nest here. I saw you tweeted it out as well, Rod, and I think Justin also tweeted it. So
yeah, you pinned Justin's. So Justin, the cool thing with Spaces is that we've got the audio chat.
Oh,
Joe
nice.
is the host. He can control. So if people decide to get rambunctious, they can be handled as needed.
All right.
But he can also, and you can also, as anyone who's a speaker can go into a tweet that they are reading and want to share with the broader group and attach it to the Spaces. People call it the Nest, I guess, back when it was Twitter. I still call it Twitter, even though Mr. Musk doesn't. But yeah, that's how it works.
So okay. Before we dive in too deep, I'll read our Wook disclaimer. Rod and I work for Wook Capital, an investment fund, so we have a disclaimer just so we can reduce the likelihood of legal trouble.
Yeah, we don't want to be getting sued, and if we do, we'd like it to be easy to get rid of. So I was going to read this disclaimer.
Wook Capital Management, Inc. and its employees solely provide investment advisory services to family clients and do not provide investment advisory services to the general public. Furthermore, investments are highly speculative in nature and involve substantial risk of loss. We encourage investors to obtain advice from your professional investment advisor and to make independent investigations before acting on information that we publish. We cannot assure you that the information is accurate or complete. We do not in any way warrant or guarantee the success of any action you take in reliance on our statements or recommendations. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All investment decisions of an individual remain the specific responsibility of that individual.
Yeah, you can just apply that to DOMO Capital too. My disclaimer's on my website, and nothing I say today is financial advice.
Perfect.
Wonderful. So Justin, you had opined on the memo. Maybe let's just start with the memo, talk about what he had to say, your thoughts on it. We can share ours and
sure.
No.
Well, first of all, how can you not love Ryan Cohen? I just absolutely love it. It's straight to the point. It's totally him. It's real, nothing sugar coated. I thought it was fantastic. And it sounds, when I talked to him, back, Thanksgiving, 2 years ago, before everything really went or whatever, there's really kind of,
isn't that crazy?
Oh, 3 years. Wow. That is crazy. So, there's really, multiple strategies. And I think, and it makes me laugh because I see people post on social media. They're like, oh, see, the GameStop people were wrong all along. It's failing or this or that, or, it's not profitable. And it's like, it's not even based in reality, right? Because you're comparing apples and oranges. This was never the thesis, and frankly, quite honestly, this was never even what's transpired over the last 3 years or whatever. It wasn't even Ryan Cohen's thesis because. No one would have anticipated that, the stock would have gone that high and that GameStop would have been able to issue shares and that they did and raise a bunch of money. Well, then I think we need to keep in mind, though, that even, the amount of shares they did issue, it pales into comparison how many shares the company repurchased.
It's one of the greatest trades of corporate finance of all time, really.
Yeah. So, it was super smart that they raised cash. And so I think that really changed, obviously, then in Ryan Cohen's mind, right, what he was considering doing with GameStop in the future. And it really, all the two, strategies he was considering or that we had discussed, on whatever Zoom or whatever we used, I think it obviously completely changed the way that he decided he wanted to go. And, you
For
know,
sure.
and they
They had a
tried a
lot
lot
more
of things.
luxury of taking on some risk on some of these tail ideas, I think, the digital related ideas that it seems like they've largely pared back. And from the sparseness of his note, I mean, it seems like that's more of an afterthought now. I mean, they were able to pursue that because of, like you said, rightly, the balance sheet was night and day from before, he got involved to after.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, obviously, you never would have, all the SG&A and everything that increased. I mean, obviously, he would not have done that, if they hadn't, sold those shares and raised the cash. He would have operated the company completely differently. And frankly, I would actually say more in line with, the honestly, Kurt Wolf from Hestia Capital. I mean, what he laid out from the beginning. I mean, he's really the one who set the stage for Ryan Cohen to come in and do everything he did. And,
That
really,
proxy fight in 2020 really gets underreported.
yeah, absolutely. If there's no Kurt Wolf and Hestia Capital, there's no Ryan Cohen. Period. It never happens. Ryan Cohen this never happens without Kurt Wolf and Hestia. And now it really appears that, Ryan's kind of with this memo flipping back to kind of, really the strategy that, Kurt Wolf had laid out before Ryan even got involved. And, I still think though they just have so much cash. There's so much they can do. So I love that he's, battening down the hatches. I expect there to be some major changes. But I think that there's a lot that they can still do from a growth perspective that, yeah, I think he will succeed. I think he will keep this company alive for decades. And I know I've always said, I know SPACs have a bad, whatever connotation now and everything. But I just really just kind of view this as a SPAC from the standpoint of like, this is like a blank check company for Ryan Cohen, right? So, I mean, it has the structure. Sounds like he's gonna be making some major changes, but it's really, it's a bet on Ryan Cohen being able to earn, multiples and multiples on the huge amount of cash that he has on hand. And I wouldn't bet against him. So it's not the type of thing that DOMO Capital is going to invest in for our clients, or it's just not what we do, not what we look for. But it doesn't mean me personally.
Yeah, Justin, if you want to take a second to talk about your investment maybe process in a short kind of interjection to kind of make folks understand like what you do look for the fund. I don't know.
No, I mean that's all right. I mean, I don't need to talk about my company. I mean, no, let's keep it all Ryan Cohen and GameStop. I think that's great. That's what people are on here for. I don't need to plug myself.
Let me counterpoint then the thought you just shared, because I think that's a reasonable way to look at it. You've got a publicly traded company that has a large minority shareholder that effectively has control of the board, has publicly seemingly committed very seriously to this endeavor. And you're right, he has some more flexibility in deal making and how he decides to operate things than most CEOs in this sort of a capacity would. But nonetheless, there's still a operating business underneath it that's still not nearly as healthy as I think you or I would have thought, when we would have talked about this 3 years ago. Am I wrong there? I mean, there's been a lot of improvement made on the cost line. But
yeah, I agree with you. I'm not sure it's necessarily below my expectations. I really thought, this. I mean, I think again, you would have done things differently without the cash infusion.
Is negative. You thought it was going to be negative?
Oh, say that again.
I was just saying that trailing earnings are negative, so like I thought they would be much more profitable at this stage.
Yeah, but again, and again, that's like what people are pointing to, right? Oh, the earnings are negative. You guys are all wrong. But again, why are they negative, right? Think of all the SG&A that was added, all the things that they did that they wouldn't have done if they didn't have that infusion of cash. He would have ran the company completely different. It would have been wildly profitable, but the upside wouldn't be nearly as large as it is, or because with the amount of cash they have, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Definitely on a much wider bound on the right tail of distributions. I would agree with that for sure. But that was reflected in what happened after he got involved, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I just think like, yes, would I have expected the company to be more profitable? Yes, if he implemented the strategy that he was most likely to implement, if the company had not been able to raise all of that money. I think
Yeah, and
then everyone
I
would have
100%
seen that
agree with where you're
exactly what
going with
we.
that. I mean,
Yeah,
the reality
yeah,
is that markets changed. Interest rates went from 0% to over 5% in 18 months' time. And people that look at maybe what people said their strategy was in, say, 21 or even in early 22 just have to recognize that reality. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that sometimes.
yeah. So I mean, what he's going to do next, I don't know. I mean, I don't. Obviously the NFT thing probably. I don't know how. What they all. And you guys, honestly, I mean, I'll just admit, like, I'll be the first one to admit, since Domo Capital exited with its clients, I mean, I've been following along a little bit, but not nearly as intensely as everyone else. So, I mean, probably most of your listeners probably, obviously you guys probably know way more about, especially Joe, like the intricacies of what's going on and the day to day, or, everything that's, happened since then. I mean, I honestly haven't, done a ton of deep dives on my own. Like, I do own shares personally that I purchased whenever I said I did that on Twitter. I don't know if that was last year or the year. I mean, they're all blended together at this point, but I know I posted it. And since I purchased those, I have not sold them. They're probably down like 50%, but, but yeah, I just, it's, I love it. I love Ryan Cohen, and, I'm in it forever, like until Ryan Cohen gets out. It's a bet on him, and it's kind of like I almost view it also as just kind of a loyalty thing to him. Like, so I will always support him and cheer him on, and I hope he does great things, and I think he will. And but yeah, I mean, again, like going back to what we were just talking about. Yeah, I mean, the underlying business, I think it's difficult to analyze because it's difficult to be able to pull out everything, all the expenses of stuff that they've been working on behind the scenes that we don't know about or can't comprehend. Whereas if that stuff didn't exist, I think the underlying profitability would actually have been probably profitable over these last couple of years. Maybe not the last year. I don't know, but at least the first 2 years would have, I think, been profitable with that stuff pulled out. So I think it's just. I mean, they haven't given a conference call in years. So I mean, still no one really knows. I don't think. Maybe I mean, I know there's a lot of conjecture, but I don't think we truly know, what he is or is not working on. And so that's really the bet. It's a bet on Ryan Cohen. So I don't know.
Joe, I know people were sharing slices of the interview you'd had with him, where I believe you'd asked him about if he became CEO again, what the implications were. What do you think?
Yeah, through my discussions with him, he did not want to be CEO at this point. This was November of 2022, and I think it's important to note he never wanted to be as involved as he is now. He was invested in GameStop and urging the board to adopt these changes so that he could make a little bit of money on the trade and be invested in a business that he thought he could provide value to through a bit of more of a consulting kind of role where he would like advise the board what to do. And when they weren't listening, he ended up having to take a more activist approach, get more involved, become the chairman, and the rest is history. So it was a lot for him to become the chairman. It's now a lot for him to be the CEO. Again, he did not want to be in these shoes when I spoke with him in November. So I think he's kind of taking matters into his own hands now, and I think maybe he sees an opportunity to do better than the previous management.
Okay. I I'm going to keep being the devil's advocate. So Furlong left or was let go. Uh, I forget how many months ago it was at this point. Could it also be true that the executive search didn't go well? And I mean, look at this. I respect the hell out of the guy, and I think he's in it for the right reasons. And he decided, you know what, I'm going to, as he says, put my money where my mouth is. Let me step up. I'm not even going to get paid to do this, but I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, they paid Sherman a lot of the company when they brought him in, Justin, in 2019, as you and I know. I wonder what the terms would have had to be. They gave a lot of comp to the execs they brought in. Oh, many of whom are no longer there. Joe had his little famous Yahoo interview where he held up a stack of the hires. There's been a lot of churn. I would say the company is much better positioned operationally with better people in place, but it's also really hard to tell, like you said, with how little they kind of share. So, I mean, we'll have to, as you said, and I agree, we'll have to watch it play out over the coming years for sure. I think it's going to be a really tough job. The reality is, with Xbox Series kind of mid-cycle refresh referring to no drive. I mean, you and I both know, Justin, that's a not good for the business if they refuse to put disk drives in the base console models.
Agreed. Yeah, I think he's going to turn GameStop into something that is maybe, 5 years from now, completely unrecognizable from what it is today. I mean, I don't think it's going to be the company that we invested in, whatever, 5-6 years ago or whatever it was. It's going to be completely different. And it's really that. And I don't know. I agree that he probably didn't want to run it initially, and there's no doubt about that. And frankly, he's probably I'm sure he probably would have loved to have Kurt stay around for longer as well. I think Kurt was a valuable asset to him, and so that was probably disappointing. But I mean, obviously, Kurt had his clients to look out for. So, I don't know. I don't know what more I can add here other than, I just think that, again, it's a blank check company. I mean, my 2 cents is, and I am by no means an expert here. I have no idea what Ryan Cohen's going to do, but I would imagine he's going to, significantly wind down the base business, the retail stores, and, I think he's going to make it into the company into something completely unrecognizable.
I've heard really good things. We have in the GMEDD server a young man who works at the GameStop out of Italy, and I've heard good things from some of the kind of ways in which they sell in those stores and orient those stores. And like in line with what you were saying, I wonder if now it's look, the prior management strategy, which I thought he was probably going to continue, was that store rationalization approach, which I think they still have a lot of opportunity for. I mean, there's still several thousand stores domestically and internationally. So, yeah, it would not surprise me at all to see them continue to consolidate, and maybe they've been really light on capex spend. So if they're gonna roll out any sort of new model, you'd think we'll see that through the capex line. And start obviously observing it. Like I remember we saw them test the things out where they were in Tulsa trying having folks come in the stores to play games and use the stores in different ways. But I mean, I kind of see the competitive advantage of theirs being that they have a distributed logistics network that can intake from consumer at pretty convenient locations for whether it's you could do like grading of collectibles potentially in those stores in some capacity and incremental to the trade-in business, like kind of leverage the two-directional nature of the buy-sell trade model that was the core business for so many years. I don't know. What do you think?
Hey, I mean, yeah, right. And didn't Larry just tweet out recently asking people about where they buy and sell like sports cards and stuff?
Oh, did he? Then yeah, I mean, that would make sense. I know that there's a lot of money to be made in that, and it seems like it's a large growth space. I mean,
So
obviously
I mean,
collectibles they've been leaning into, but that's more than what I even associate with them.
yeah. So I just think they. I mean, obviously, I think their future is not video games, and I think so.
Certainly
That's
not
where.
in physical copies as I play Starfield through my Game Pass.
Yeah. Yeah, and and even like my kids, yeah, they just, whatever they like. Well, they liked Fortnite for a while, but they're sick of it now. So I don't know if that's run its course or what. But now they like whatever, like NBA 2K, but they do. I will say, they do like getting the new version of like NBA 2K every single year because they say like, well, if we don't get the new one, then we can't play online with our friends because our friends are all on the new version or whatever. So
FIFA for the soccer nerds. You're spot on. That's one that's good for annual kind of sales cycle for sure.
Right. So again, I back in the day, I was, I feel like I was at least one of the GameStop experts, and I felt like I had a really good idea of of what was going to happen in the future, and did some good analysis. But I mean, again, I'll be the first to admit I'm just not really in the loop these days, and I am in it personally just for my loyalty to Ryan Cohen, and I think he's a fantastic human being. I think he's a fantastic
He is. I
CEO.
think so too.
I think he's
You know who else is? Who I
ingenious.
really
Yeah.
wish was still around chatting with us?
Uh,
Keith.
John Miller.
Oh man, no, no, that you went deep for that one. No, I wish Roaring Kitty, would show his paws, if you will, show his bandana. Miss the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I would love to see him. It's interesting. I mean, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but he actually did recently refer one of his good friends over and to Domo, and so I don't know. So yeah, I am hoping to speak with him again in the future here. But I agree. Like he's obviously he's around. He's watching stuff, and I
He could even
with
be in
my
here right now. Who knows?
yeah, maybe with my with the conversations I've had with the client, I think we might be seeing Roaring Kitty again at some point. Just it's no telling when. And
I'm glad to
honestly,
hear
I'm not
that.
even sure. I'm not even sure if the legal stuff is completely wrapped up yet. So I think there might be
Yeah,
some
yeah.
stuff with
I
that
can
too.
totally appreciate that. I mean, I don't want to say too much, but you and I both know that. Joe knows that dealing with any subpoenas from any federal or other agencies is a really time-consuming and money-consuming endeavor.
Man, I'm an attorney, and if I was representing Keith Hill, I'd be telling him to keep his mouth shut and social media presence, like just stop until everything was done and over with.
Right. Exactly. And so I think that's where I think it's crazy because, right, it's been 3 years, but I think that's where it's still at. And, it's crazy. Like someone even sued him, right, for, because they shorted, this is crazy. They actually shorted the stock. I think the guy shorted it after the congressional hearing. He shorted it, and then he blamed Roaring Kitty. So he sued Roaring Kitty because he lost money shorting the stock. Like, what? It's just insane.
There is ongoing litigation. I'm sure you've maybe heard of it, where Cohen had tweeted pertaining to Bed Bath. At least her card is full, and it had a full moon emoji. And there's currently litigation on whether that's a manipulative communication.
I don't understand. What does that mean?
Joe, maybe you could dig up the tweet in question.
I'll try and
But I don't
find it.
mean
I
to
remember
sidetrack
hearing you
us.
deleted it. I'm not sure if that's
Oh, did it?
true.
Like, what do you mean a manipulative tweet? In what way?
Man, you remember that frog emoji where that one day it went from like,
Oh yeah.
I don't know. That was nuts. Because I think I'd bought a bunch of shares that day, and then all of a sudden, uh,
Ice cream.
yeah, frog and ice cream or something like that, and I'd bought it pre-market, and it was amazing.
But yeah, what was this moon thing? You said it was about Bed Bath. Bed Bath and Beyond going to the moon. Is that what he was trying to say, or something? Was that when he owned the shares of Bed? Are we talking about Bed Bath now, or what?
I think it was an article about Bed Bath and Beyond not doing so hot,
Oh,
and he tweeted, and there was a stock photo along with the article that showed somebody with like a full shopping cart. Like whoever published the article maybe didn't take note that that's kind of a funny graphic to include with the story.
gotcha.
The company not doing.
Oh yeah.
Said,
Did
like,
he? Did he still? Did he still own position at that point?
I can't remember. I don't see the
Oh.
tweet, so I'm sure it's gone now. But
Oh, okay. Because I mean, if he didn't own a position, I don't know why that'd be relevant. But yeah.
No, he posted the tweet on August 12th, and I believe he exited in full within the next week or two as the share price had
Oh,
another
okay.
kind of meme moment.
Gotcha.
man, I want to touch on something with like the future of it. I'll tell you this, like
I'm part of the reason why I held on to a bunch of shares so long was because like I really thought I remember after the first it was at post January there was talk about them becoming kind of like a computer gaming boutique store, which I was really pumped about. And I'm sitting here, 2 weeks ago, I spent almost $3,000 buying a bunch of new computer stuff, like gaming computer stuff. And I'll tell you, like that money went to Amazon, Best Buy, and Newegg.com. And it was frustrating because I would have liked to have been able to buy that, the motherboard, the CPU, my graphics card, the case, RGB fans. It would have been fantastic to be able to sit there and go on to GameStop and buy the vast majority of it. And it was sad that they're. I mean, it's been 3 years. Like, come on, man. Like, why can't I buy this high-end gaming equipment from them?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess just to that point, and I remember people talking about that back in the day, right? I mean, we've really heard nothing from them, so it'll be interesting to see that now if he's CEO, if he actually, the next earnings or whatever just comes out, and I for one would love to see it. I'd love to see him come out swinging and be like, we're going to do X. I mean, I know he doesn't like to give away his strategy and everything, and I can totally appreciate that. But the same token, yeah, I mean, you saw this other article I posted about I mean, I know it was on Seeking Alpha, but I mean, it wasn't really their content. They were just like reposting it, right? But it was like what a bunch of analysts were saying about how Ryan Cohen, as CEO, ensures its demise. Just a bunch of like truly just complete bullshit.
Mr. Factor.
Yeah, just complete bullshit. And, but the point being is like, so I would just love to see him come out swinging and just like lay out something that's just beautiful and just like, and just, I think fantastic. But, again, I mean, obviously I can appreciate him wanting to operate in silence until, it's ready to go. And I mean, I sure hope he's working on something big. But I mean, to George's point there, I mean, we just don't know, right? We just don't really know what's going on behind the scenes or what projects they're working on, or if they've already tried some and failed, or, I mean, that's certainly possible, but, we really have no details. So it's really just, blind faith in Ryan Cohen, which, hey, for my personal money, I have
one
that.
thing
I have blind faith in him.
I mean, clearly there's a huge interest from various people globally in how the company does, that I'm sure people will catch wind and see if these changes are happening in their stores or on the website. I mean, we all used to track that stuff, like you said, very closely. I don't as much as I used to. I'm on the website, GA, right now, looking at desktop PC hardware. Like I've sorted by most popular, and you're right, there's not like a high end, or at least high price. I mean, you mentioned a few thousand. The most popular 4 of the 5 items are between 800 and 1260 in the PC category, for what it's worth. But there's only 45 results, so yeah. People, I'm sure, will see these changes as they come through. But I kind of think, Justin, that it's less likely he'll make any sort of announcement formally. I think if there's an M&A transaction, we'll get that when it happens, and that'll kind of inform whether that's in like a great, like card grading, I feel like would be a competency worth acquiring, given the logistics infrastructure they have and kind of the adjacency to the core customer base. But we'll see.
Yeah, and that would be super interesting, right? Especially with, I mean, the valuation of a lot of stocks right now, especially small caps, is insane. Small caps have just been completely hammered. They haven't really recovered yet. I mean, they probably
don't remind me. We both invest similarly. It's been rough.
Yeah, they probably will when the Fed stops cutting here, or stops hiking. And but the point being is, like, yeah, I mean, they could go out and easily just, acquire something that's already profitable potentially, right? And then it's just something that, like a cash cow, and, then almost instantly make the company profitable overnight, and then expand from there and find ways to integrate. But
Well, as
so
long as they don't do what prior management did in that exact same vein and buy some cell phone retail.
yeah, right, exactly. And I think Ryan will be super smart. And he called that out. And I mean, some of his comments were really directed at himself, right? And in that memo, not saying directed at himself in that he did anything wrong. I'm saying directed at himself in that mistakes that he can't make, that that has forced other retailers into bank. So, and I know he has a fantastic investing track record, even, and, he's the Warren Buffett approach. And I mean, frankly, what's Berkshire Hathaway, right? Today compared to what, a textile company. So really, this really could be Ryan Cohen's Berkshire Hathaway, right? And he's got the ability here to make it into whatever he wants. And really, it could just become like a holding company. Frankly, what if you just started, investing the money in individual stocks as well, right? I mean, there's no really telling or no limit to what he could potentially do. And so I would say, like, the weaker the market, the better it is for GameStop, and from the standpoint of, it's just that money can go, so much further in what he might be able to acquire or buy or purchase or whatever.
Yeah, that's what makes me think that he's apt to. Listen, we're battening down the hatches was kind of the tone I got from that memo. We're going to be very cost conscious. Everyone in the company, hopefully, is going to understand the importance of profitability. And I think that it's a tough cycle coming up with a lot of businesses with a lot of debt, a lot of variable rate debt. And if the Fed is higher for longer, there's going to be more defaults. And, if you're a wannabe buyer for the right price, I think if you want to wait, if you're, Mr. Cohen, you probably can afford to, and you can find the pickings in some Chapter 11s and different stuff that goes into default. So I do think it's a good time to have a pile of cash like they do. The balance sheet, again, like we agree, is night and day from what it was.
Oh
And
yeah, they
definitely
have
one of the greatest
no
trades
debt.
in finance history. The fact they did the repurchases at a split adjusted price of like $1 and change.
Right.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah. And they really have no debt other than whatever that loan to the French, or, the debt to the loan from the French government that, occurred during COVID. But, the other thing, also, we just got the news recently about Amazon, right? So with the feds going after Amazon, like, that's really interesting. And we know that's always kind of been his goal. And, people think that, he's failed if that's what he's trying to transform GameStop into, but we don't necessarily know that. We don't necessarily know what they've been working on, or whether they just all of a sudden one day just unleashed an entire marketplace that was, a better Amazon. That would be insane, right? And so you just, I don't know. Maybe that's completely impossible. I don't know. But so yeah, there's a lot of I don't knows, right? And again, I just put me in the camp of, hey, personally, I have blind faith in Ryan Cohen, and I think he's going to do awesome things. But how you value that or whatever, it's difficult, right? It's just it's got to be a long term, holding. At least it is for me. I'm not giving anyone else advice, but for me, and I'm just interested and fascinated to see what he ends up doing. And like I said, I think it could be a mini Berkshire Hathaway. So.
Absolutely fascinating. We will keep our eyes on the ball, watching it. Joe will be tweeting it as these things happen. I'm certain of it.
I wish I had more.
It's absolutely been a fascinating thing to have been small part of, and to have continued to observe over the last few years.
Yeah, just yeah, absolutely. I wish I had more to say about it, but yeah, like I said, I'm just not. One thing I will do this rather than plug my own company. I will do this shameless plug though. I do find it highly fascinating that Hestia Capital is involved again with Pitney Bowes. So I mean, it's a very 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 similar situation without it's not going to be a short squeeze, nothing like that, without any kind of major short interest, whatever 8% of the float. But I mean, once again, he's like, one board seat short, and I mean, it's primed again for. I by no means do I think Ryan Cohen's going to come in at Pitney Bowes. Absolutely not. So don't read between the lines or anything like that. I don't think he's going to be involved, but I mean, I would love to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. But it's just kind of cool. I mean, we're talking about Ryan Cohen and continuing on with GameStop, but it's just kind of cool that hey, Hestia had this they're fully responsible for what happened for paving the way at GameStop, and now it's just kind of fascinating to watch what they're going to do with Pitney Bowes. And it's the same thing at GameStop. It took Hestia like 2 or 3 years, and with Pitney Bowes, it's on year 2. So it'll be interesting to see, if they're able to get Mark fired or what. Oh yeah, they're in for a long time.
I think they were in it from 2011 or 2012?
But from an activist standpoint, totally. Yeah, they ran.
That's a reality. A lot of people who haven't been around maybe markets or watched this stuff very closely, like to understand all the different governance structures and what you can accomplish with a proxy contest and that sort. Joe, I guess shameless plug for us. We talked about shareholder activism. I think you put a little playlist together because we talked about it like on the heels of him when he was involved last year in March with Bed Bath. So I think that's been tweeted recently from the due diligence account. But I mean, look, we're all trying to become better investors over time. So watching how Cohen's investment in GameStop moves forward, it's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, and back to those activist days, I remember. I mean, speaking with Kurt, and he, at the time he said if he had known, right, if he had known there was like that much if the shareholders at GameStop would have supported him like that as much as they did, he would have ran for a lot more than like 2 board seats. But he just went with the 2 board seats because he just figured he could win that amount.
He got a very quick win. It took like less than a month to get that.
Right. I mean, yeah, exactly. But then also he had like a standstill agreement too and things, right? So he couldn't it at some point prevented what he could do.
Yeah, he got the seats, but he got declawed for a year.
Exactly. And so, if you're looking at that, he completely learned from that. So that's the complete opposite, so going forward now with Pitney, he avoided that. He did it differently. So just interesting to see how things, people learn from things and how things, whatever, and I don't know what I'm saying, but whatever.
No, I think that's a good takeaway, though. You're a young activist investor who had wild success with the first campaign.
Right.
You had a second campaign shortly thereafter. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's learned. I know we spoke with him earlier this year, and I think he definitely, has a good, an appreciation for the enormity of, there's a lot of people who follow his every move. I think he's trying to do right though, and I have faith that he's doing the best he can, and he's a hard freaking worker. So look, it's a tough hand dealt for the company though. The secular headwinds are real, but I'm with you. I think they're absolutely exploring adjacent markets to grow into, and I'll be watching it. Like I have for years. I'll keep watching it for years. So
I'm gonna let Jake come up and speak. He's got his hand up. This is Jake Friedel at ZBLAR0. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, man. Thanks. So I was just going to say, I'm part owner of a big game convention. And so I feel like I know kind of Ryan's demographic as far as, people shopping at GameStop. The biggest thing that I could think he could do to turn around the company, and this is, literally anybody you talk to on the ground, their biggest problem with GameStop is going in there, and if you're going to buy a new game, you get like a gutted copy and stuff. And I just wanted to chime in and say, if he would just hit that full force and be like, listen, we're changing this about the company. If you go in to buy a game, you're going to get it new, sealed. That would change so much as far as like people's view of the company.
What's a gutted game? If you can clarify.
Yeah, sure. So like, say I bought, I don't know what's coming out right now, but if you order that game, you could potentially get, it's literally just a disc and like they have their own cases basically. So it could be a game copy, like you don't get it sealed in cellophane and everything else. So why would you go to GameStop to buy this when it's quote unquote they call it GameStop new, when you could go to like Best Buy and you know it's in the cellophane new or whatever as a collector?
I never knew they did that. I'd never seen that. I thought
You
that was
should
only for
literally email that to him.
Yeah,
I'm sure he would read it.
I've tried to reach out, and of course, you know, with Reddit as it is, if you say anything that has potential negative sentiment, you know, it gets downvoted all to hell. But it's like, no, I'm an investor. I'm also a collector. I want to see this, you know, prosper. Like, let's address issues.
Yeah, no, because I see it very similarly. I mean, especially for physical software-related sales,
Right.
It's vitally important because so many of them are collectors who want that to be an immaculate part of their collection.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever hit a sub like I don't know, something like Slick Deals or something like that, anytime there's a deal on GameStop, people are like, "Oh yeah," but you don't know if you're getting a truly new copy or if it's just something off the floor that throw in a case and send to you.
Ryan is definitely receptive. I mean, this is probably something that literally no one knows other than me, Ryan, and one other person. But after, you know, Ryan took over or whatever, you know, there's this person that, you know, has sent me some really sick designs of a game, like a complete redesign for the GameStop, their stores and everything. I just thought it was so awesome. And I actually emailed it to Ryan Cohen, and like he responded back to me. He thought it was really cool too. And I ended up following up with the person. They said they actually took it, you know, pretty far, but in the end decided to not go forward for whatever reason. But I mean, he's definitely like receptive and listens and will, you know, so yeah.
Just out of curiosity, where did you get like his email to even contact him?
Oh, we know before, like, yeah, back in the day, you know. So
Okay, right.
yeah, we were just, you know, because yeah, I'm sure.
If somebody could reach out to him about that, dude, I'm telling you, that would change the sentiment exponentially.
I'm surprised it's that much of a big deal.
Yeah, like to collectors, that is a huge deal.
All right. Well, I'll tell him. I'll send him an email. Let him know.
All right, man. That's awesome. Like
I'll let him know. I'll let him know it was your idea.
Thanks.
I just took a screenshot of your name.
That sounds good. Like I said, man. Like I think just even putting a feeler out there, just be like, this is just, you know, something that we're changing with the company going forward. We've had some complaints and we want to do better. I think that would change like people's view quite a bit.
All right.
Yeah, for them to thrive long term, they've got to be the first stop for collectors. I think if you're a physical collector of game and all that related paraphernalia, like that would presumably be how we can make kind of the GameStop experience akin to, you know, the Chewy experience. And hopefully we see something in that vein. I mean, I'm with you, Jake. I wouldn't want to go, you know, be trying to buy a game for my collection and it's like I don't even have the matching, you know, case with it, and it looks like somebody already opened it. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of GameStop's, you know, customer cash, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, changed over the years or whatever, but that's definitely been, you know, one of the reasons why a lot of people have, you know, have gone to GameStop. That ties into anything, but as far as what they may be looking for the future.
Shorebiz, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me in this one? I'm driving, but
yeah, we hear you.
All right. Well, I just wanted to make sure I could connect. I'm on my way home, so you're going to be going for another at least half hour, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. I'll sign back on the mic then and make some points.
What do you have to say? Go ahead. Let's hear it.
No, I got to focus because I'm in the city driving. You can't miss it.
Why'd you request to speak now then, Shorebiz?
My Twitter wouldn't work yesterday. It was such a nightmare. It's like, do I even want to go home and just go through that again, or do I want to stay out? If it didn't let me connect, I was just going to listen to it later. I haven't even read the memo yet because I've been so busy after. When did it release, like 2 hours ago or something?
Yeah, would you like me to read it to you, Shorebiz?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, we will read the memo. I don't know. We haven't actually done that here. We've been talking about
it. Great. That's a good idea.
Why don't we read the memo?
People who are visually incapable,
people who are
like
driving, visually impaired. Here's the memo sent out by Chief Executive Officer of GameStop, Ryan Cohen. Subject, survival. He says, I will be straight to the point. It is not sustainable for GameStop to operate a money-losing business. The mission is to operate hyper-efficiently and profitably. Our expense structure must allow us to endure any adverse scenario. Whether it's a difficult economy or revenue deceleration from shrinking software, we must be profitable. Our job is to make sure GameStop is here for decades to come. Extreme frugality is required. Every expense at the company must be scrutinized under a microscope and all waste eliminated. The company has no use for delegators and money wasters. I expect everyone to treat company money like their own and lead by example. Prospering in retail means survival. If we survive, we stay in the game. Survival is avoiding the deadly sins that often lead retailers to self-destruct. This is usually a result of the following: buying bad inventory, using leverage, and running expenses too high. By avoiding these self-inflicted mistakes and focusing on the basics, GameStop can be here for a long time. I expect everyone to roll up their sleeves and work hard. I'm not getting paid, so I'm either going down with the ship or turning the company around. I much prefer the latter. He concludes with, it won't be easy. Best of luck to us all. Ryan.
That's why we believe in him, that's great. He's a talented leader, really. I saw that DOMO Capital thing. I would have to agree with him fully on that.
Yeah, it's a brief email. It's his first email to who are now, I guess, his employees. He was acting as the interim CEO for a while, but this is his first email actually operating as full permanent CEO. So curious to see if GameStop starts publicizing more moving forward with him as CEO. I don't really imagine they will. They've always been pretty tight-lipped company, but looking forward to seeing if changes happen any faster with him in this role.
Were you guys talking about collectibles as it related to that?
Go ahead, Domo.
Oh, I mean, my 2 cents is just when I read it, and again, I have no idea what was going to do. To me, it sounded like, going back to the original strategy, right? It sounds to me like rationalization. Sounds like maybe extra people let go as store, rationalization of the stores, and then I think it's something more.
I don't know if it's just on my end, Justin, but you're cutting out a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we're getting a robot.
Yeah,
You're not using voice mod, are you?
I'm kind of I was surprised it worked this long, actually. I'm in here. It's kind of it doesn't. I only get 1 bar. But I said, when I read it, to me, it was I read that as, rationalization and, probably reduction in employee headcount. And, but then, and that's really what the strategy probably would have been, as we talked about in the beginning, probably would have been from day one if they hadn't raised all that money. But then, so when I read the letter, that's what I see. But then there's the unknown of how you're going to spend all that money, right? So that's that's my 2 cents, and I could certainly be wrong. And whether whatever. That's just my take. Reading it is rationalization, firings, but then what is he going to do with all that cash? What's he going to acquire? What are they going to develop in-house? I think the store base is the future of GameStop. I think, who knows? Maybe in 5 years they won't even have a physical location. I have no idea.
Doubtful.
Yeah, I'm sure it would shock a lot of people. But I mean, does Amazon have a physical location?
Well, they got the.
Much more exciting stores, I think, would be a great path forward. People have always dreamt up a GameStop store where you could go and have like a LAN party, play with your friends. There's multiple gaming setups. A bit more of an Apple Store-esque experience where people go in there to tinker, go in there to play with things, and they get kind of caught off guard and end up buying something. Whether, in an Apple Store, maybe they walk out with a pair of AirPods they didn't expect to buy. They only went in there just to check out the stuff, right? So I think if GameStop's able to create that kind of mentality where you go into the store because you love gaming and you just want to see what's on the shelves, you want to see what you can tinker with and hold and try out for the first time, that's a winning strategy.
Yeah, see, it is an interesting debate. I completely disagree. I don't think. I think it's going to be rationalization. I think at some point, yeah. I think the store count's going to completely dwindle, possibly to zero, and it's going to be either completely online or it's going to be a whole different model or who knows, maybe they even start developing games, maybe they buy an actual game creator, right? So or figure it out. But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting debate, and who knows, maybe it's something in between. But yeah, I actually disagree. I personally disagree with you that that's the path forward, and I think that when they tried that in Tulsa, it was a failure. And I know obviously COVID didn't help that, but I just don't. I personally don't think that's the way forward. I don't think that's what they're going to do, but I could 100% be wrong, and that's perfectly fine.
Luckily, we have Turd Ferg 23 to come at some commentary.
How's it going, guys?
Go ahead, Taylor.
No, so I mean, I think some of the ideas that you guys are saying are interesting in terms of, having like the whole LAN experience. The only downside to that is that, like, if you really think about GameStop stores, right, they're typically located in middle to lower income areas, and so like a lot of those kids are just going into the store so that they can purchase, a used copy, which is high margin, of a game that they weren't able to get when it first came out. So it's like that their target audience is not that audience. Their target audience is high margin used games. So you're not necessarily going to bring in a bunch of expensive large PC hardware when everything in their store is like 500 square feet, and you're going to bring in PC hardware maybe to the online experience, but you're not going to have something like that in store and expect people in those income areas to come in and buy a $3,000 PC.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a fair point. That'd be more of an online thing probably. And what was I gonna say? Shoot, just slipped my mind. Oh. No, but what you're saying is, and that's also, I guess, why I'm thinking. I just don't see. Oh, I mean, like, look, going forward, like, used games aren't going. I mean, is there really a future for used games 5 years from now? Or, I mean, I just don't see it. I don't, especially with, like Rod was saying in the beginning with, the new base Xbox versions not even, being fully digital and stuff. I just don't even see how the used game, I don't think the used game market, is that even going to exist in 5 years? And then, so that's why really the business has to be completely reinvented. And although it did make me think of, I mean, So in some games, like even mobile games, right? Like people advance, whatever. I don't know. They play. What are some of those games like Clash Royale or something, right? They build up an account. Maybe they
Oh my
spend
god,
money
dude,
on
they've
it.
completely ruined that game with the latest freaking evolution update, but I don't want to sidetrack us. But I've been playing that game since it came out, and ugh, I'm over it.
Yeah. But okay. So Rod, okay, perfect segue, right? So you're sick of it. You're sick of the evolution update, and so here's the thing: you want to sell your account. Like if you go and look online on how to do that, is there really a reputable source? Why not with all this pay to play? Why doesn't GameStop become the reputable source to buy and sell your accounts within the games?
I mean, the simple answer is it's against the terms of service.
I think they haven't really
Oh,
found a
really?
way to do it. Like they hired and fired a whole dev team. They had 2 years to figure out, how exactly you could trade digital games, and they didn't do it.
But remember, we're not trading the game. I mean, what do you mean is against the terms of service? I see people do it all the time. Or back in the day,
I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just telling you it's against the terms of service. So I'm not sure
you're
that
saying I
a
cannot, I
scaled
can't.
public company is going to be able to execute,
So
many transactions that aren't permitted under the terms of
no, I'm saying I
service.
didn't realize that's against the terms of service. So you're saying that you can't. I'm not saying about you're not selling the game. You're just selling your account.
Right.
That's against the terms of
You build
service.
up an account, and you go to sell it to somebody else. I mean, people do it, and I'm not mad at them if they do, right? If you built up a great game account and then you don't play it anymore, it's kind of silly, it goes to waste. But so many people, right, it's tied to their other accounts. But yeah, if you made a
Oh wow.
standalone account for that profile, technically you're breaking the terms of service by selling the account, as far as I know.
Oh, I had no idea. Well, my idea sucks then.
Well, no, I don't think it sucks. It's just the gaming market. The companies don't want people to be able to do that. And it's something that consumers have to demand. It's not something that they're going to want to do because they're perfectly fine with just leasing people access passes for full price or 20% off even, because they don't have any overhead when they do it that way. And they want to not have overhead. They don't want to make all these games and have to ship them out. They want to just have like people download from the server. They have to pay the server costs.
It's structurally far more profitable for them to sell a digital copy than a physical copy.
Yes, but it's not better for the consumer. And so the ones who do cater to the consumer are going to be the most successful. That's why people love Nintendo, because they're great at customer service, like knowing their customer base and then giving them what they want. So they're already doing stuff like that with amiibos. I don't know if people know what amiibos are, but it's basically that exact thing, except I think it's like Smash Brother characters.
Is that like a bacteria? Just kidding.
Amiibo. No, it's like, how they have the Mii for Wii, the Avatar's Mii. You know what I'm talking about? Have you ever played like
Yeah.
So Amiibo is like a little toy, like a mini Nintendo Funko Pop, except when it's near your device, it'll actually add features to the game, like characters. So if you have a Donkey Kong Amiibo, then you can play the Donkey Kong special character, special edition character, whatever. But I think you do that with the entire game, and it just makes it such a better collectible product. I get why Ryan Cohen wants him to not phase out the disc from the system, because people invest all their money, and obviously GameStop sells those. But I think a better form factor is like little mini collectible things that even could be 3D printed, and then they have pretty much unlimited storage for what you're going to need. If they think ahead, like Cyberpunk may have 200 gigabyte download, but if it's got a terabyte of space on the Cyberpunk version of that, then it could just have the whole game right on there, and really such a better form factor than disc, in my opinion. Or maybe some people will still want disc, but I don't know. I think Nintendo's ahead of the game on that one.
Yeah.
I just think when you think about all these things, you have to consider what is high margin for GameStop. I mean, like, when you have all these different ideas, it's like, okay, well, the thing that Ryan was pissed off about is that, talking about used games, discs, like that's the bread and butter of GameStop. That's where they make their money, So it's like,
yeah. And Turd, one quick interjection for anyone who hasn't like looked at how the company at least used to, because look, the way it reports now since 2019 doesn't break this out with enough granularity. But if you look at the 2018 10K, you can see a breakout of where the gross margin for the company comes in from in a much more clear way, in line with what Turd is saying. So just recommend that if you're curious about it.
I agree with everyone in terms of leaning into collectibles. Like I wouldn't necessarily go the way of, like plushies and Funko Pops and shit, because if you look in any given, mall, there's 5 different stores that also sell Funko Pops and shit like that. Like you're not going to lean into that market well enough that, like, if you were to lean into something like a sporting good or something like that, there's hardly any comic stores around anymore that actually have, tops and stuff like that. Like you basically can just get them from Target or online. So it's like, if you leaned into that more, that has the physical retail space that's capable, of holding things at GameStop. But outside of that, there's been a few different companies that they could potentially gobble up in terms of, like, maybe electronics. You don't want to become the next Radio Shack.
No.
But at the same time, there's still demand for small consumer electronics that, Best Buy maybe isn't offering, so they have to look at that and see what they can specialize in.
I would love to see them just completely throw away the concept of what GameStop is and just think, if I wanted to, what is think of the customers you have, but forget about what you're selling today. Forget about trying to be complimentary. Think about more of your customer base and just what they want in general, and just make it a completely different company. And just make it something totally different, but that your customer base, that's something that somehow relates to your customer base. I just don't think the future is gaming, and they can still be called GameStop, whatever. It's a fantastic brand now, and you don't get rid of that. But I just feel like all these ideas are too small. Like it's not going to move the needle enough, or it's just more complicated than it is to drive, really the change in profitability that they need. And so again, I'm just put me in the camp of rationalization, and it becomes a Berkshire Hathaway that in 5 years, it'll be completely unrecognizable from what it was 5 years ago. And just almost a totally new company, and holding company, and nothing, in case of Berkshire, right? Nothing to do with textiles anymore, or clothing, or whatever, and so, maybe there might still be some element of selling games, or, riding that out until it's completely just not even possible anymore with the way these new systems are coming out. But I would just love to see them, just use it just like he did with Chewy, right? He just created something from nothing. And that's the brilliance of it. That's why I think this is a SPAC. It's a blank check company for Ryan Cohen to be ingenious and just create something out of the blue, or acquire something. And I don't think it has to relate to GameStop at all. I don't think it has to do anything with it. I would focus on more, again, your customer base, the people that love your company, your customers today, and what can you do? What can you sell, or service, product, whatever, that would delight them? And maybe it has nothing to do with gaming, and that's great. It's not going to be pet food, obviously, but, I think he might just come up with something completely different. And I'm excited to see what it's going to
be. So Rod just let me know that he's probably going to be dropping in the next few minutes. He pinned in the nest the snippet of the 10K that he was referencing that breaks out the different segments that GameStop makes their money, so the different product categories. Now this is the data from about 2018. All the way back to 2016. So it's not latest. GameStop doesn't really break this out anymore in their filings, but you can assume it hasn't changed tremendously. It's probably, not exactly the same, but it shows at this point where they were breaking out their product category sales. So take a look at that if you want. It's in the nest. I'll also invite anyone else to come speak if you have any questions. We've been at this for about an hour, so may not go too much longer. So anyone that wants to get some questions in, feel free to request to speak, and I'll throw you up here.
Yeah, I got about 5 more minutes myself. So,
well, Domo, I'd like to point out a couple things to you that because you seem like you have a good take on all this. It's just, I'm a customer at GameStop, and what do I want when I go in there? I want to pull up quick, to get out, to go in, see 10 different items that will work great as birthday presents or Christmas presents, throw them in the gift bag with the card, and get out of there. That's what I want the most out of GameStop. And it may not be a profitable suggestion, but in my experience, that's the most that I'm using GameStop at, or for whatever, is collectibles. And that's why I've been saying for a long time, I think they need Nerf guns, they need Legos, race cars, RC cars, whatever goes along with that, like drones, future Apple Vision Pro accessories. I mean, they're going to have a lot of potential accessories to sell that are really closely related to gaming. So what do you think about that?
yeah, I mean, those are fair points. But again, I would say, see, I would say, again, you're thinking about what you want as a GameStop customer. I'm saying Ryan needs to stop thinking about what GameStop customers want as GameStop customers, and he might already be doing that. Instead, you're a customer. You follow GameStop. You're following. It's like, what do you want as a person, and that you aren't getting, or that from somewhere else, or that he can provide that you're getting from somewhere else in a better way or manner. And I mean, that could be, I don't know.
Well, I got an idea
like,
for you.
again, something completely unrelated. Like, like 3D printing or something, just something.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
And maybe you knew I was going to say that because I've said it so many times, but I think they should have specialty 3D printing
No, I
stores.
didn't.
Like you go into New York City and the GameStop has a 3D printing store. And if it works, then you have something to use the NFT market for. 3D models that you can then go into GameStop and print out.
Yeah. Actually, that is fairly interesting because, I've been saying this for like 10 years and no one believed me, but, and maybe it's still garbage, but I always thought that, and so this is really funny, but I always thought that Amazon will die when like in the past, no one had computers, right? Now every single person has a house. No, this is so Amazon will die when like every single person has a printer in their house, and they're first by use of 3D printers in whatever in stores. But the point being is that so much of what Amazon ships, like back in the day at least, I think something like 80% or 90% of what they sell in the store was like £5 or less, right? On Amazon. And so like almost all that stuff could be 3D printed. It's insane what you can 3D print. You can 3D print organs. They're 3D printing homes in Texas. I mean, you can 3D print anything. And as that tech gets going, and so the biggest idea would be, what if, like, the biggest thing would be if GameStop could find this, and this is a crazy idea, but like, I don't know, mate, but whatever. If GameStop could become the iTunes of 3D printing, right? Where like basically it's a marketplace for people to put their 3D printing plans on, and then other people download them. And so almost like buying a song, right? You buy someone else's plan to 3D print whatever, a statue of Jamaica or what, whatever. And if you create that marketplace, that structure, like that would be incredible. So not necessarily, and then people could use the 3D printers in the GameStop locations or whatever, maybe in the short run, but really it'd be more about that marketplace. That idea is something that would be huge and big, and something that, it might be risky, but that would be something that would be, that would really move the needle and make it something that would just last decades and decades.
Well, they have Gundam, so Gundam is perfectly poised for that exact thing already as well. You don't need really technical models to just go out and get a custom Gundam piece printed. They already have all the walls set up. And you could go and get an iPhone case printed or a keychain, whatever you needed. Even just like a thing that isn't even related to gaming. There's just no real good, like, cheap markets for that right now, at least.
Yeah, and you're getting GameStop's customers, right? We were just talking about, right? They probably can't afford their own 3D printer, especially not anytime soon. I mean, I know there's, right, I mean, there's some out there, but I'm talking about something that really can do almost anything. And, maybe not print organs at that level, but, and so, yeah, maybe, maybe that's really interesting. Like, yeah, someone just calls in, hey, I need a screw, a tire, or I don't know, who knows, whatever it is. And then they can just go to, GameStop 3D prints it, and they just go there and pick it up, instead of going to Walmart or whatever, who knows, something like that, or related, or branch off of that. But that to me would be really interesting. But who knows what he's going to do? But that's the direction, right? Even if it has nothing to do with 3D printing, like something big that the GameStop customers can relate to, and who cares if it has anything to do with gaming or not? It's more about, it's not, again, not what. Who cares about what a GameStop customer wants when they walk into a GameStop? Let's care about what a GameStop customer wants in general. What service or product can you provide your GameStop customer today better than they're getting today? Whether that's competing with Amazon, 3D printing, whatever, Walmart, I don't know. What obviously that's not a good example, but like whatever it is, find some niche thing like he did with pet food, right? That's exactly what he did with Chewy. And so that's what I'm saying. I want to see Ryan Cohen replicate Chewy. And it's not, I'm telling you, it's going to have nothing to do with gaming. It's going to have nothing to do with pet food and just whatever. That's my guess. That's what I would like to see. And that's what I hope he does.
Well, just one more follow-up point before we get to Psych. I just want to point out that with a 3D printing system like we're describing, you could go on to a video game, buy a gun, use it in the video game, go to Game Store, have them printed out, and then use that as a Nerf gun in real life as well. And I do that with Race Car and Mario Kart. There's a lot of potential possibilities because those things are pretty easy to produce.
Yeah, and then you start having your customers design their own items, right? You start having your GameStop customers design their own 3D printing ideas. They go in there and then they get to sell them, right? They get to sell them to your other customers. And then it's like you just build this whole unique thing, but we'll see.
All right, Psych, go ahead, buddy. How are you?
Hey guys, afternoon. I just want to say a quick thing about like the whole LAN cafe idea that Toast had. While fantastic, I think I just want to say that the LAN cafe kind of like died out like late 2000s. Like it was like a fantastic idea back then because like a lot of these LAN cafes were like some of the places that you see here in LA or like the heavily Korean populated areas, you would see PC bongs, and they would have like DSL and like high speed internet. But with the advent of like multiplayer console games, between the mid 2010s till now, a lot more people have been moving away from the LAN cafes here in the States, and then more of online console gaming, if I remember correctly. Plus, I think like the culture for the Pong culture here in the States is a little bit different. So, like a lot of people aren't down to just meet up at a LAN cafe and play games anymore as much as it did like earlier. The reason why I even say that is because like you come to LA like back in the early to mid 2010s, you would see PC bongs here and there, but I rarely see any LAN cafes anymore.
Man, PC bongs are awesome. I actually studied at Seoul National University in South Korea, and oh my gosh, that was what 2004 or something, 2003. That was awesome. I love PC bong. I'd go in there, and play Warcraft or whatever. I mean, that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I totally get your point. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know they even had those in like LA and the States and stuff. I mean, I know they had like maybe LAN cafes. I didn't know they called them PC bongs there in the States too. But yeah, that's pretty cool. That was awesome back in the day.
Oh, dude, fantastic. So you kind of like know what's up. Yeah, like a lot of my what's the equivalent of hyung? Like my older homies had they started a business here. They actually ran the PC bong. You know, you pay $2 an hour. You get your own like little station. You know, like they had like back then because like StarCraft was really big and
Oh yeah,
playing it
StarCraft.
on
Right.
yeah. StarCraft playing that on 56K like dial-up versus like DSL or LAN, it's completely night and day. But like
Right.
now that everybody also already has like high-speed internet, like it's kind of like you know, it's not a big deal as much as it was back then. On top of that, you know, I think like the other thing is like you go to Korea, you know, you go to these PC bongs and they have food. You know, like you're able to order on the console or whatever, and it's like also kind of like a restaurant or whatever, right? That's gonna be a little bit harder here in the States.
Why does GameStop
Right.
not have G Fuel in like every store? That's my side note question on that. But who knows? But my add-on point, when I was traveling in Europe, those places were huge, those internet cafes. So it might just be that America doesn't have the strongest market, but if they are ever thinking about branching out, I think that'd be kind of too risky at this point. I was thinking early on they could use their LAN cafes, I just call them Wi-Fi cafes, as like mining crypto, but they probably didn't want to get all the headwinds from green energy people if they did that. But they got all those processors sitting around. No one's using them. You can put them to use in some way, right?
Yeah, I don't see them going the crypto route, but you know.
Yeah, I don't see that as likely
I hope
at this
they
point
don't.
anymore. It's kind of FTX pretty much ruined that. If it was ever going to work after FTX, it's like they might need to pull back and rethink how much. But I think like our use case with this 3D printer for their market, I think is like the perfect match. I don't like the JPEG day trading stuff. I want like an NFT market that actually produces real physical items that people can hold and put on their desk. Like OpenSea will do partnerships with fancy design companies. Gucci, they did one, and you buy the Gucci NFT, and then when you burn it, you get a little statue. And maybe it's not worth 2,000 or however much money, but at least you're getting something when you burn it. Without the burn function, it makes the NFT just a JPEG day trading type thing, which can be fun. I mean, if you want to gamble, but it's kind of that market has crashed super hard. So I don't know.
Yep.
Hey, Tandy, how's it going, buddy?
Hey man, good evening everyone. Thanks for having me on the panel. I just wanted to join the discussion and quickly give my thoughts on the memo that Ryan Cohen sent to the employees. So first of all, it shows a sign of commitment, right? Like he wants to stick with the company for a long time, and so I'm happy to see that. I'm also glad to see, like I'm aware that GameStop has its challenges, and I've been talking about it, and so like the difficult economy obviously is hitting GameStop, and the software sales decline. It's been noticeable for years, so it's good to see it acknowledged, and hopefully they'll take steps to, like go into a different direction. So I also heard Justin's idea of like GameStop being a blank check company, and I wanted to respond to that because in the most recent annual report, it showed that a lot of the lease terms are expiring in fiscal 2023. So 1,700 leases are expiring this year. So if we're talking about like the blank check company, like this year is kind of the make or break for that idea. If they're actually like moving away from the storefront GameStop that we know today, this is the year to do it. So
Absolutely.
just wanted
That
to
was
add to that point.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, and that was my GameStop thesis. That was Kurt Wolf from Hestia Capitals GameStop thesis. You got this new console refresh coming, and you have all these stores on, with that the leases were coming due, almost all of them within 3 years, and that was really the thesis. You like use the next console refresh, sell as much as you can, and wind down the stores. And that's when I talked with Ryan Cohen. I mean, he fully understood that. But the difference is now they also have over $1 billion in cash, right? So I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm also thinking like what is the reason that people go to GameStop? What is the primary reason that customers go to a GameStop? And I think
No credit card.
it's my assumption to buy games. And I think with the software sales declining year over year, my concern is that we might see like lower store visits, and with that, like less moments that you can upsell collectibles. So where some
100%.
people were saying like some people are pointing out like, yeah, like GameStop should go the way of the collectibles. Like my opinion is different in that regards. I think like software is not a good idea because the market trend is obviously against GameStop. Collectibles, I think it's difficult in the current environment in which consumers just do not really have the money to spend on collectibles. And and also like the reason I just mentioned before. So that leaves us with the hardware component, which is not really, it's not specified as it was in 2018, where they actually had the revenue streams like more specified. But yeah, I think GameStop would do better if they focused on hardware. So I'm thinking like, what if you could actually like build a custom PC at GameStop, and maybe like we've also seen that some computer parts are completely GameStop branded right now. So I think it was RAM sticks I've seen, or yeah, I think it was RAM and maybe data storage components that are already GameStop branded. So I'm hoping actually that they will go more into the hardware segment, and I think maybe a potential acquisitions might help to get more into this direction. Also, I want to share an idea that someone in my community sent me. It's actually something for Justin. Maybe you have some ideas on it. It's a company called Batteries Plus. I don't know
sure,
if you
yeah.
know the company.
Yeah, I that's where, I mean, if my car needs the battery change, that's where I take it. I go to Batteries Plus.
Yeah, so a friend of mine is saying like that might be a good acquisition target. What do you think about that? For GameStop, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, that could be interesting. I would just like to see them go bigger, right? Something more unique. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the company would trade for, though. Like, I don't know Batteries Plus. And I don't really. I mean, I'll admit, I don't even know. Are they a publicly traded company?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're private or publicly traded or anything. Like, I mean, I don't know. I'll leave it to Ryan Cohen to decide, best use of money. I mean, it's interesting, but I mean, I don't know. I think the last thing they need are more story. I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. Again, I think I've said my whatever, and I don't know. I think they like you said in the beginning, they're gonna get rid of those leases. They're gonna rationalize the store base, massive cuts. Obviously, employees just because of this cut in stores, and then they just come out and do something completely different and new. But yeah, I think I got to get running, guys. So I appreciate the opportunity to join. It's been fun. It's been a long time since I talked about GameStop, and so this was fun. And like I said, I'm by no means an expert and haven't been in the weeds in years and years, and just giving you my own personal thoughts. But it's been fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed what I had to say. I don't know. I feel like I took a lot of time up, but
Well, Justin, you killed it. It was great having you. I mean, we'd hope you join in on some future spaces. We're hosting one tomorrow. A bit of a post-mortem on Bed Bath & Beyond. I know you've been pretty vocal on your thoughts there. I know we're gonna
I know.
intense conversation. It'll be a lot of fun. But
Hey,
that's at 4 p.m. tomorrow Eastern.
yeah, I got my son has a football game going on, unfortunately. But I mean, I'll just say, like, hey, I mean, I wish no ill will to anyone, and I have never in my entire life. I can say I've never shorted a company. I've never bet against a company. I do not want to see. I never want to see Bed Bath and Beyond go bankrupt. I wish no ill will to anyone. My heart just goes out to. I mean, like I started posting about it maybe like a week or so ago because it was just insane to me that there was still like 130 million market cap or whatever, right? So it's just nuts. Like, and so I mean, hey, no financial advice. I hope it works out for people somehow, but I mean, it's the court filings just seem so cut and dry, and I just don't know. People like Ryan Cohen is not involved, and so I mean, I just don't know. What's happening? What I just hate seeing people scammed into. I just hope I just think people are putting too much faith into people that maybe have an incentive to not be telling them the truth, or maybe those people just believe something. Just they've convinced themselves into believing something that just isn't the case, and I don't know where I'm going with this. I just want to say that I hope people don't lose their money, and I mean, yeah. So I wish my heart goes out. I mean, after tomorrow, if obviously when the shares completely stop trading, expired, extinguished, my heart would just go out to everybody that's lost a lot of money on that. I know it's absolutely awful. I've been in companies where I've lost a lot of money as well, and so it's awful, and that's really it. I just wanted to tell people that, hey, the court filings are pretty clear. And once your shares are canceled and extinguished, I'm sorry, like, you will, if new shares are ever possibly somehow issued in the future, I mean, that those would go to the creditors, the people that are, they're the creditors. And I mean, I don't even see that happening. And so, like, you are not going to get new shares in the future. It's impossible. I mean, you're once your equity is wiped out, you're wiped out. You have no more stake in the company. So, my heart just goes out to them. But yeah, so I guess, that should be an interesting space as you have tomorrow.
It'll be an interesting one. I think you and I share the same philosophy on it. I mean, none of us want to see retail investors lose money. We're not, happy to see how it unfolded. So there were points that we were doing our own research on Bed Bath and Beyond and looking to see if it was a good investment. So we've been interested in the stock for years now. So it's a shame. It's a shame it played out this way. The shares should be canceled Friday, or they say on the 30th, but that's a Saturday, so I'm assuming end of market Friday. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, you're right. The market cap was like over 100 million just less than a week ago. So it's a wild situation. But yeah, we'll talk about it more tomorrow. If you find the time, Justin, you're obviously more than welcome. I see some people with Bed Bath in their bio looking to request to speak. Yeah, tune in tomorrow. I don't want to open that can of worms right now. But
yeah, I got to run. I wish them all the best. And you know what? I know I don't even want to say, like, I hope I'm wrong, because it's just so I don't want to, like, I feel like it's false hope, right? But like, I mean, look, I'll be the first. Like, if somehow I'm wrong, I will be the first to say, God bless you. I'm so happy for you, and God bless. But I just don't see how I just don't see how that's even possible. And so, that's the only reason I spoke out about it on Twitter, just because again, my heart it just goes out. And if someone can even, retain any amount of money, I would just hope that they could. But I mean, it's not my, it's their, I mean, I don't know their situations. It's not financial advice. And I guess, good luck. But I mean, my heart's in the right place. That's all I can say. And I've never shorted or bet against a company. So I know there's a lot of rumors out there, but yeah, I appreciate it. And I don't think I will be able to join tomorrow, like I said, but it should be, maybe I'll have to listen to the recording later. But again, thanks a lot for having me on, Joe. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we should, get in touch sometime. So.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Justin. It's great catching up with you. Have a good night.
All right, thanks.
Good chat.
Same to everyone
Thank
else.
you.
All right, bye.
I just like to point out with Bed Bath & Beyond that it is sad. It's like really sad, but it's really, no one should feel bad, other than the people who scammed them. It's not, we've been telling them for years or however long. And so I don't feel any guilt because I've been telling them this exact thing. It's just, I just hope the people who did it are held accountable, like who openly misled them. But we'll talk about that tomorrow, I guess. And Toast, I have an outro for you if you want.
What'd you say?
I just made an outro.
Oh, did you? Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, ShortBiz is one of our most valued contributors in our Discord server. So anyone who's in here and is not on Discord, you can join us. Go to discord.gg/GMEDD. We have about 8,000 members who tune in to our Discord server. We talk about all stocks. We talk about GameStop, talk a little bit about Bed Bath, and at least for another day or two, I suppose. And then we have discussions on any ticker. So if you want to come talk to other like-minded retail investors looking to expand their knowledge on the public markets, tune in, chat with us. It's 24/7 discussion. I mean, people were talking about this Ryan Cohen being appointed as CEO before I even noticed it, before I'd even tweeted it. So people really are on top of things there. Definitely tune in, check it out. But I think I'll wrap it here. It's 4:30 for me here in California, 7:30 on the East Coast. So it's been about an hour and a half. It's been a pretty good discussion. The recap will be on YouTube soon. We'll have the upload there. You can also just rewatch the space if you missed any of it. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I have pinned in the nest the invite to tomorrow's space on Bed Bath. All of you throwing the thumbs down emojis. I see you, Victor. Victor from California. I see you, buddy. Foothill Ape. Shorts never closed. Boom. GME BBYQ. I see you there, buddy. Buddy, can I get one heart? I see you're throwing the thumbs down. There we go. We got a heart from Victor. Victor, we will talk tomorrow. You've been requested to speak for like an hour, but look, I know what you're going to say. Victor. So we will talk tomorrow. Tune into the Bed Bath stream, and I hope everyone has a good night. So thank you, everyone.
All right, I got your outro.
Thanks, Joe, for having me on the panel. Great discussion as always. So I'll see you another time.
Thank you, Tendy Baron, as well.
Thank you, guys. All right, have a good night.
Who's outro?
This has been GameStop Due Diligence. Ryan Cohen survived.
Okay, that's it.
That was pretty epic. We may need to get you a job, ShortBiz.
Totally for free. I'm a voluntary contributor to your cause.
All right, see you guys. Thank you.